Coming up, I'm going to give you 3 more ways to repurpose your message beyond Sunday. Stick around if you never want to let a good sermon go to waste. It's so great to have you on the channel. My name's Lane. This is Preaching Donkey. We talk about how to improve your preaching so that you can preach with more impact and more effectiveness and more clarity than ever before. Definitely go to preachingdonkey.com/21days to pick up your free 21-day guide to creating killer sermons. It's just a 3-step, 3-week guide that'll take you through a process of preparing and delivering messages that will be super effective and helpful for you. If you missed part 1 of Never Let a Sermon Go to Waste, definitely check it out right here. I outline the first 3 ways to repurpose your sermon content in that, so definitely check that out there. And we're gonna dive right into it. So this is an article we've been looking at for Brandon Cox, Never Let a Sermon Go to Waste, 6 ways to repurpose your message content. We looked at the first 3 in that first video, blog your points one at a time, use brief quotes and verses as social media messages, and use the video. Let's go ahead and dive into the final 3 for today. Number 1, create a podcast. He says it's fairly easy to use your sermon audio to create a podcast. Almost every church website solution will have some kind of RSS or iTunes feed capabilities. So with a few steps, you can be sharing your sermons as a podcast. You may wonder why podcasting matters so much, but there's a reason why it's such a rapidly growing trend. People subscribe to podcasts, so rather than popping in and out as with blogs or as with YouTube videos, people usually form a pretty faithful community around a podcast and they'll listen to every new episode. So this is really good advice. If your church doesn't have an audio podcast where you're putting your sermon content out in its full form every single week as a podcast, it's definitely something to grab onto, because there's people who may not check social media often. They may not see the YouTube video that you put out, or if you post it on Vimeo, or if you post that video to Facebook, they just may not see it. So even though that's a really good idea, you should definitely do that. Creating a podcast where people can listen to the audio, it shows up on their device every single week. It just pops up, oh yeah, I want to listen to that message. Maybe they weren't there that Sunday, and it's just a reminder that they can listen to it. And then it can begin to go beyond the people who go to your church, and you can be one of the sermons that they listen to every single week. Pretty cool. Number 2, turn it into a small group study. Brandon says, our community pastor takes my notes and creates a discussion guide to go along with them. Then some of our small groups download those notes from our small group studies page and use them in their small group meetings. It's likely that in less than 20 minutes, you could breeze through your notes and create 2 or 3 strong discussion questions after each point, then offer it for download. So this is something that we do at our church as well, where the sermon content actually allows the micro churches, which is kind of our small group structure. It allows those micro churches to use that content and take it further. So you could take your sermon content, make a few questions, and give it to your people as a resource, or you could make it available for download on your website. And then finally, create eBooks from your sermon series. I love this one. Save your finished notes as a PDF file, add a nice cover, and then offer them as free downloads. Some people like to read content on web pages, while others prefer to read longer form content as loadable portable files. You can even publish them to Kindle with a bit of preparation, or give them away as lead magnets to people when they subscribe to your church's email list. So this is something I really love, and I love this idea that you can make ebooks from your sermons or ebooks from your sermon series, and I think this is a really, really great thing for pastors to get into. As he said, you can start out with it as just a PDF file that you upload and people can download that for free. The other thing you can do is you can begin to publish books from your sermon series. You can take your sermon series and turn it into a book. I have a whole YouTube channel dedicated to help people write and publish books. You can definitely check out a playlist right here where I talk about how to write a book, and I'll also link to that at the end of the video. But I think it's a really, really great way to get the word out about your preaching and your ministry. One of the things that I love about writing a book is it's going to be around forever. So if you want to take your sermon content and not just share it on social, but kind of set it in stone where it's something that people are going to be purchasing and reading for years to come. It's not only a great way to expand your ministry and broaden your reach, but it's also a pretty awesome way to make money passively for years to come. So here's the bottom line. He says the gospel is the greatest content on the planet, and we pastors write and say a lot of words about it every week. It's a shame for that knowledge to go to waste. Utilize modern technology and social distribution points to extend the message and fill every conversational space with the truth and glory of God. Amen and amen. I really, really love that. I firmly believe, this is why I do Preaching Donkey, that the gospel is the most important message in the world, and I want to make sure people are hearing it. And I want to make sure that when you stand up to preach it, people are listening, they're tuned in, and they're locked onto you. That's why we talk at Preaching Donkey about how to communicate clearly every single time you preach. And what he's saying, and I completely agree with this, is that because the message of the gospel is so important, let's make sure that people hear it far and wide. Just to review all 6 ways to expand your message and not let it go to waste from both of the videos that I've done. Blog your points one at a time. Use brief quotes and verses as social media messages. Use the video, create a podcast, turn it into a small group study, and create ebooks from your sermon series. So from the 3 that we looked at today, maybe you're going to create a podcast. That would be really, really awesome. Maybe you're going to turn your next sermon into a small group study. I think the most exciting thing that you could think about is take your current sermon series or a recent sermon series and start to map out what it would look like as a book. Again, in this playlist right here, I'm going to show you exactly how to write a book step by step, and you can apply your sermon series to it. So definitely check that out. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and give this video a like, and I will see you in the next video.